All right, very good. All right, got it. We're going to go over the most important stuff that we can go over with you to start, so we always have a clear understanding and a clear way to communicate what we're looking to do for you here. And the first thing that shocks a lot of people is when I tell them chiropractic has nothing to do about your leg hurting, your back hurting, your neck hurting, anything hurting, really. It has to do with your life. And the reason for that, we're going to cover. And what we'll do is save your questions for when we're done, and then we'll cover them then. But usually by the time we're done, everybody's questions are answered. And the greatest thing about this is I've been doing this for 15 years, week in and week out, multiple times a week, and I'm never less excited to do it than I am today. You know, it's always such an exciting opportunity for me to present this to people, and I think that's very powerful. And what we're going to do for you is we're going to start at the very beginning. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about life and how we get to the place that we get to, and how the whole system works, and how we work here, so you have a much better understanding of that. And what's interesting, we're going to start at the very beginning. We all start like this. You know that, right? A little bottle of wine, a little bit of Barry White, and the next thing you know. So when we talk about life, there's something incredible that happens when two cells meet, and the most amazing and incredible intelligence that I know of is unleashed in the human body. The power of the creator, right? The power of the maker begins to multiply, begins to create a miracle, which is all of us, right? Us, our families, our kids, stuff like that. What happens at this point is we begin to have cells that develop, right? 2 become 4, 4 become 8, 8 become 16, and on and on and on and so forth. It's doing that millions of cells an hour for 9 months, creating a person out of pickles and ice cream. How amazing is that? It's so amazing, right? And it all happens because there's an intelligence that is a creative force in the human body that begins to unleash itself, unravel, right? This whole cellular development. The first thing these cells do is they build a bump on the top and they build a stalk down below. It's the first thing these cells do. So being that there is a maker, I believe God is the maker, and there is this intelligence that's unleashed, well, God could have done anything God wanted to do. What he chose to do was to create life from above down and from the inside out. So what happens next is nerve tracts. Master system begins to get formed in the human body. All these nerve tracts get to be formed, and according to science, there's over 420 million nerve tracts that get formed in the human body. Over 420 million tracts, and those tracts give rise to everything in your body, your heart, your lungs, they give rise to you, they build you. And what will happen here, interestingly enough, is that out of these tracts, 10% of these tracts, 10% are responsible for how you feel. 10% feeling. Okay, whether that's pain, pleasure, regardless of what that may be. You got 90% of these tracts are responsible for how your body functions on a daily basis. How much insulin you make, how much you breathe, what your blood pressure is, regardless of all function. You know, 90% function. So our biggest problem comes when we have a healthcare system and an insurance-based system, and a system that most people abide by in this country, and a lot of others, that spend 90% of their resources looking at this. 90% of their resources, their therapies, their concerns, and everything else they spend looking at 10% of what your body's capable of. Right? And for the person that walks into the office a lot of times, they got 100% of their focus here. Right? 100% of their focus is on how they're feeling. In our office, we always are putting 100% focus right here. 100% of our focus will always be on how you function. Why is that? Why is that? There's a reason for that. The reason is this. How you function ultimately is going to determine over time how you feel. Right? So a body that's not functioning properly over time and with repetition is going to have problems. When we look at how you're feeling, it's 10% of the whole resources of your body dictate and determine how you feel. Here's what happens. During this creative process, when the body begins to build itself, it protects the top here with bones. We got this is your atlas, first bone in your neck. This is your axis, second bone in your neck. And those two bones protect where all life started. They protect this area. It's the most vital area in the human body. It's the control center for how you heal, how your body's constantly healing itself, expressing life. Because when we look at this, right, we have 100% life in our brain. Would you agree with that? Anything disconnected from your brain dies. So we got 100% life exists in your brain. We have a nerve system, right, that travels through your spinal cord that goes to every single cell in your body. And we got part of your nervous system that reports back to the brain to say how things are going. So if we could get 100% of that life to every single cell in your body, how do you think you'd feel right now?
Good.
Probably. How do you think you'd function?
Good.
You probably would, right? How long would you want to function that way?
All the time.
Of course, forever. It makes perfect sense, right? How long would you want your kids, your family, whatever, to function that way?
All the time.
All the time, right? The chiropractor has one job, making sure this happens. It's my only job to make sure that happens, because we have discovered what can interfere with your ability to express life from above down and from the inside out. And what interferes with that we call subluxations. I don't use a lot of big words, but that's one of them that you should know here, subluxations.
What is subluxation?
Subluxations are when one or more of the bones in your spine begin to move out of place and they begin to decrease the body's ability to express life from above down and from inside out. Right? And that has everything to do with how the body functions and very little to do with how you're feeling. But what happens is subluxations most typically start early in life. Early is the birth process, right? Anyone that's given birth knows it's a tough process, right? So either that, or in the first year or two of life, we have hundreds of falls, stuff like that, that begin to put, right? You know that begin to put bones out of place, right? Begin to put pressure on the nervous system, and then the body is expressing less than 100% of its potential. And if we interfere with the body's ability to express life from above down, inside out, you don't function so good anymore. And if that continues for decades, years with time and repetition, over time you end up not feeling so good. Right? And then people come here and they point to all this stuff. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, and they want me to look here and here and here. It's all over. And what the deal is, we're never going to focus here. Because that's the last stage. You follow what I'm saying? That's the last stage, is you end up with some symptoms. What happens typically is the body hasn't been functioning right for decades, maybe since birth. So our job, and our only job here, is to begin to remove interference with time and repetition, because 2 cells became 70 trillion cells of the human body. How? With time and repetition. Over time and with repetition of building cells, your body built everything, everything from the resources that were put in it and given to it. So our job here is to make sure you have no interference to the body's ability to express this life from above down and from inside out. And when we do that, with some time and repetition, you start expressing 100% of your potential through every single cell that makes up your body. And as a result, you begin slowly and gradually to function better. As you function better, slowly and gradually, you run the risk of feeling better. I don't know what happens in that arena, because that's not my arena. See, the medical people have an arena, and even a lot of therapeutic professions out there have this arena, that they're just looking to cater to this. They're looking to cater to how you feel. So what they typically do is they look to put interference over here. Because the body sends a signal that says something hurts, right? Body sends a signal up here that says pain, right? They look to just interfere with this signal. Cut it off. You're not expressing 100% life now. We've just silenced the voice of the problem. And that doesn't help anybody. There's a reason why people experience pain. And the reason is for your protection. Your body, when you're experiencing symptoms, pain, pleasure, whatever it may be. But typically as we talk about some pain, is that it's in order to protect you. So in other words, thank God if somebody broke their ankle, they would get a little bit of pain. Thank God for that. Thank God. Because if you didn't, you'd walk around all day, you'd go dancing tonight, you'd do everything, you didn't feel anything. How would that ankle be at the end of the week? It would be destroyed, right? So when someone does something like take, let's say, Rolaids for stomach problems, because their stomach keeps on burping up, burping up, burping up. They take Rolaids. What's the difference between that and, let's say, trying to remove pain signals from a broken ankle, saying there's something wrong? Right now, something's wrong with your leg. You're not walking right. It's not our job to just remove the signals that let us know that. That wouldn't be right. Do you understand that? And there's a lot of ways you could do that. You could use shots, you could use therapies, you could use all this fancy stuff and equipment that would maybe turn off signals that let you know something's wrong. It's never going to be our objective here. We're always going to focus on removing interference so the power that made your body can start healing your body. And every time somebody comes in here and they point to a part or they talk to us about this, we're always going to redirect them to this. So you come in, let's say on next Tuesday or something like that, and you say, oh, it's right here, it's right here. I'm going to look at, this is always on the board here. I do this 1,000,000 times a year. This always stays on the board. So people come in and talk about, oh, it's here, it's here. So I'm always going to say, guess what? You're going to focus there, we're going to focus here. You know what I mean? Okay. So the better we can get you focusing in this direction and paying attention to how you're going to function, how your body is going to recreate itself over time and with some repetition, the better off both of us will end up being. Because 100% life should be able to be expressed through the body 100% of the time for every man, woman, and child that walks the planet. That's the purpose of chiropractic, to remove interference to the expression of this intelligence for a lifetime. That makes too much sense, doesn't it? Why on earth, when you understand that, would you stop coming? You said you had a family member that, oh, they used to come years ago. They didn't want to express 100% life anymore? You know what I mean? They get caught up in insurance. Guess what? Your insurance company doesn't care how you function. Do you follow what I'm saying? They just, whoever plays the game with them, they'll just play some games, which most people have had all the therapies, all the other nonsense prior to getting here, and wonder why they're still messed up. Because they're playing in a system that's devoting 100% of their resources over here. What do you get when you devote 100% of your resources over here? You get a life that's not based on function or on fact. You get a life that's based on feeling. You know? Feel good today, feel bad tomorrow. Feel good today, feel bad tomorrow. Keep taking drugs. Now next thing you know, you're a junkie that still feels terrible. You know? So our job will be to make sure we're able to find and remove interference from your body's ability to recreate itself normally and naturally. With time and repetition. There's no magic beans. You know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of miracles within our office, and there's testimonials all over the walls, and we hand them out every week, and incredible things happen for people. But the only thing that we ever do is we reconnect the power that the Maker put up there to the matter that makes up your body. And when the Maker is connected to the matter starts working. Like magic.
Gets better and better.
Because that's the job of the Maker. If we go to practitioners that just keep on looking at the matter and they have no idea about the Maker or reconnecting anybody to the Maker, you know what happens? Nothing. Therapy after therapy after therapy, till ultimately people end up expressing no life or limited life, you know. So our job for you will always be removing interference to your body's ability to express this intelligence. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's what we're going to start doing today. Is we're going to find and locate interference in your system that's going to help us